Do you ever feel like a bad parent because your kid triggers you? Do you wonder what should you do? How can such a cute little kid trigger you to this extent? It's not like you're experiencing the abuse you experienced in your childhood. It's not like you're with a toxic ex. It's not like you're in the emergency situations you had been in. How can my kid trigger me? I have news for you. Your kid doesn't trigger you. That's a misunderstanding. If you want to know what I mean, click subscribe below so you never miss another episode, because I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz, YouTube's post-traumatic parenting expert, and this kind of thing is what we talk about here. So here's the deal. Your kid does not trigger you. I'm going to say it again. Your kid does not trigger you. Yes, my kid does. My kid screams and I get triggered. My kid doesn't listen to me and I get triggered. My teenager is snarky and rolls their eyes at me and I get triggered. It isn't true. My kid does trigger me. No, your kid doesn't trigger you. Your kid reveals your triggers. There is a difference. So when I say your kid doesn't trigger you, they reveal your triggers. What do I mean? First of all, let's understand, what is a trigger? So the word trigger is way overused in the world right now, right? We have trigger warnings on things. People have a strong reaction to the idea. When we talk about triggers, somehow this is like a no-no. It means that we're fragile and that we're creating a fragile generation and we're not raising people to be resilient. There's a lot of controversy, but here's what a trigger is. A trigger simply is something that snaps you back to an old traumatic state. And in PTSD, in full-blown PTSD, the kind of PTSD I have, you can get triggered by something that your mind, your brain, your body associate with your original trauma, so that you can go from calm and regulated to completely dysregulated in the blink of an eye, like that. So, for example, for me, hearing a siren will trigger me because there were loud sirens when my father died. So certain smells can trigger me, meaning my brain goes from calm, regulated, what we might say in polyvagal theory as in a ventral vagal state, I'm calm, I'm good, to a suddenly hyper-aroused sympathetic arousal state, or to a dorsal vagal freeze state. That's what a trigger does, where you were calm and regulated and this memory just catapults you back in an automatic way. So when I say your kids don't trigger you, they reveal your triggers, I mean just that. If loud noises are triggering for your nervous system due to your abuse, due to your trauma, due to whatever you experienced, then yeah, you're sitting on the couch, you're talking to your kids, and all of a sudden, randomly out of the clear blue sky, your 2-year-old starts shrieking on the top of his lungs for the sake of shrieking on top of his lungs, and you get triggered, and maybe you yell, or maybe you lash out, or maybe you freeze and you tense up, and you think, what kind of a jerk am I? Like, my kid's 2, how can I yell at him? You were triggered not by him, but by the noise. The child revealed the trigger. That's already there. That's what I mean when I say your child reveals your triggers. So I want you to think hard. I want you to go over your week and think hard about times that you reacted to your kids in a way that you're not proud of, in a way that you really isn't consistent with your values, that you really wish you hadn't. And tell me what was happening right before. And let's start seeing if we can map back and figure out what your triggers actually are. So maybe your teenager rolls her eyes at you and you respond in an angry, punitive fashion, and that's not consistent with your values. You were triggered. Was it the eye rolling? Or can we take that back? If someone rolls their eyes at me, that means they're judging me. When was a time in your life that you felt really judged and it was threatening and dangerous? Oh yeah, when the mean girls in high school bullied and excluded me and shamed me in front of the whole school. Judging me was how that started. Oh. So it's not like your daughter rolling her eyes at you, that is what triggered you. Your daughter rolling her eyes at you activated an alarm in what we call our trauma app that was about being judged. And when the trauma app sensed danger, danger, being judged happening, you literally went from calm and regulated to completely dysregulated like that. And it might not be anger, it might be freeze and shut down. It might be dissociation. It might be tension and tenseness. It might be snapping back. Depends on you and how you react to your triggers. But it isn't that you're threatened by your teenager. It's the sensation of being judged. So what I want you to do, take out a pen and paper, take out your phone, have a way of recording it, write down the times in this past week that you lashed out at your kids, that you just reacted automatically in a way that is completely inconsistent with your values, and you're really not happy, and like you don't want that to be on the highlight reel of your parenting moments, because this is like your greatest parenting fails. So write those down, whether they're major or minor. You know, you just said something snarky, or you slapped the kid and you really don't believe in spanking. You said, go to your room, even though you're not that punitive parent. You yelled and you really are trying to work on your yelling. Write those things down. Second column, write down what was happening right before you reacted in that way. Like I said, it could be something as simple as the noise level in the house had steadily been getting higher and higher, and it got to a certain level of intolerable where my brain cannot handle that. So write that down. What was happening right before? I was trying to do 10 things at once. The rice was burning on the stove, the phone was ringing, my boss was texting me, and then my 10-year-old was telling me how I'm the worst mother in the world and I need to buy him something right now, and I'm so mean, and I lost it. So a lot of people and things and the environment making demands at you all at once, that's triggering. Okay. So let's see. So the third column is, let's boil it down to the essentials. What's really going on here? Right? We know what the trigger, we know what we did. We know what was happening right before, and then we know the theme. The thing that when we boil it down to essentials, it was too many demands, too loud, too overstimulating, being judged. What was the real core of that experience? So now we have those three columns. Now that we know our children are really doing us a favor because they're revealing our triggers. Now that I know what my trigger is, like my trigger is too many demands on me at once, it's very simple to then create action steps for how do I make sure there are not so many demands on me at once? How do I make sure to have as few demands on me as possible? Like telling my boss, my phone is going to be on silent between the hours of 4 and 8 p.m. Do not even try to reach me. I am not reachable during that time. So if you text me, I will not see your text. And again, that's an aspect of privilege. You may not have that privilege. You may be in an economically precarious situation. You may not be able to set that kind of a boundary with your boss. But there are many people who think they can't, and then when they do, they realize, oh, I always could have. So think about that. Maybe I need to not be cooking rice as I'm parenting my kids, because the likelihood of the baby having a dirty diaper, one of the kids whining, the doorbell ringing, and the phone ringing all at once while the rice is boiling over is very high. So maybe what I want to do is I want to cook dinner before the kids get home, or at night, the night before. So like if I cook on Monday night, I'm cooking dinner for Tuesday. I personally like to cook once a week. I batch cook. I just simply cook everything that we're going to eat that week on Monday morning. Sunday is always leftover, so that's easy. Monday morning, I cook everything that we're going to need in the week so that I don't have to be doing anything else while I'm parenting. So yeah, the baby has a dirty diaper at the same time that the 10-year-old is whining. That's not everything all at once. That's some things, and it's annoying, but my ability to manage stress and manage my trigger of too many demands on me all at once is much better because there are less demands on me all at once. So once I know my trigger, what are the action plans I can take to manage that trigger And then to convert that even further, let's convert that into a value. I value co-regulating with my kids, right? Therefore, I'm going to take as many things off my plate before they come home so that I can be a present parent. I value being a present parent. I value teaching my kids a sense of self. So I am going to teach them how to handle being judged by others. It doesn't always have to be a natural, outgrowth. It might not be the opposite of your trigger. It may just be a value you've come to as a result of that trigger. But either way, you now have 5 steps to use parenting to, number 1, reveal your triggers, and number 2, help you heal and manage your triggers. Because very often what we won't do for ourselves, what we don't have the courage to do for ourselves, we will do for our children. So that toxic boss that you were never able to set a boundary with when it was just you, as perhaps a single person, or you and your spouse, suddenly when you have kids and you start realizing that I'm going to parent inconsistent with my values if I let this boss keep texting me during dinner time, suddenly it becomes, boss, not going to be available between 4 and 7. Don't even try. And they accept that boundary. Little did you know. You give them that if-then statement. If you text me between 4 and 7, I may not see it until after 7, and if you needed an answer immediately, that's going to be a problem. Or I won't see it till the next work day. Provided, of course, that's not if you have a job where you are meant to be on call, you may not be able to say this. I was discussing this video with a friend of mine who is an emergency room physician, and she's like, yeah, I wish I could do that with the intercom system in the hospital. They just can't page me because I am taking a break right now. And I said, yeah, if it's a occupational requirement of your job, that's not going to work. But at other times, set up your life and set up your boundaries in such a way that it supports the parenting that you're trying to do. So yeah, your kids do not trigger you. They reveal your triggers, and that's actually super helpful for your trauma healing. If you like this topic, if this is something you want to talk about more, if this is something that interests you, please click subscribe below so you never miss another episode. And if you want to hang out with other post-traumatic parents, check out Post-Traumatic Parenting, which is on my Instagram page at Dr. Kozlowitz Psychology. That's where the post-traumatic parenting community hangs out. If you want longer form interviews and in-depth coverage of topics related to post-traumatic parenting, check out the Post-Traumatic Parenting podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. We are getting closer to the launch of the book. The book is coming out between January and June of 2025. So if you have any post-traumatic parenting questions or thoughts or concerns or ideas that you would like me to include in the book, make sure to comment below so that we can have a conversation, and perhaps your idea will end up in the book. Perhaps your question is something that we're going to be addressing. If you like this video, if this is important, if you have a friend who you think needs to benefit from this content, please let them know. Send them this video. You can always like, support, share, save, and comment so that you can show support for the Post-Traumatic Parenting Project, because we are growing post-traumatic parenting one parent at a time. Welcome, and please click subscribe below so you never miss another episode. Till next time.